What is up, my ninjas? Shinobi here, bringing you guys another Diablo 3 video guide just for you. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Demon Hunter and the most important build for the Demon Hunter, which is your farm build. This enables you to get all that juicy, awesome loot throughout the season to get you into those higher, greater rifts, to get you doing those greater, higher solo, to doing your group play and yada yada. Now I do have quite a few builds lined up that'll be coming out over the days here from different classes, and also more builds for the Demon Hunter, so make sure to look for those. Also, if you're watching this video, most likely I am live over on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Shinobi Live. I'm going to try to be a little brief and to the point about some of these builds, as some of this stuff is kind of known already, kind of basic, but if you have more questions, like I said, reach over to me on my Twitch channel. And also, if this is the first video you're seeing of me in a while, I did actually make a video saying that I'm back in Diablo 3. Make sure you check that video out as well. Link will be in the description. So, without further ado, let's talk about the multi-shot Demon Hunter. Multi-shot Demon Hunter is one of the best, if not the best, farming characters in the game. So fast, so furious, just amazing. And with this build in particular, I use this for speed farming greater rift 70s, 80s, and 90s in 2 minutes or less. And that's exactly what I do with this, because I farm for primals with this build. That is the sole purpose of it, to farm for primals and to get my gems higher up and get them ready to push them even higher with my Impale, doing the group play and stuff like that, and doing solos with my Shadow Impale Demon Hunter or Natalia's Marauder. But that's what I use this character for here. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a variation for this, for some of you guys that want to key farm with this. You can key farm with this just the way it is, but I have a little treat for you as well on top of it. Let's go ahead and run through all the items and the setup for the build. So we are using here in the Season 16, we only have to have 5 pieces on here because we automatically get the Ring of Royal Grandeur set up. So we have our 5-piece multi-shot here, going over the shoulders, looking for Dex, Vitality, Resist All, and cooldown reduction on the gloves. Mine aren't even very good. Looking for Dex and a trifecta, whether that's cooldown in there with the crit chance and crit damage, or even area damage instead of the Vitality there is going to be good for you. Or you can have ones like these, because, you know, this works just fine for me. Chest piece, going to be looking for having the maximum discipline in the secondary. That's the main thing that matters. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but 12 max discipline in the secondary is super key. Everything else is Dex, Vitality, reduce elite damage, percent life, resist all, things like that are fine, but not super important. The rolls don't have to be amazing for a build like this. We also have the Witching Hour here. Just any old Witching Hour will do. This one I do use on my Impale Demon Hunter, so I do have an augment in there. But most of these items, I'd say 90% of these items, are not augmented. Yeah, so Witching Hour huge for the attack speed and crit damage bonus. Onto the pants here, Dex, Vitality, you'd want Resist All. Unfortunately, these aren't the greatest rolls, so I have armor here. And then on the bottom here, these were quite nice to get. I finally got one of my primals that was really good for actually usable, and it's Dex, Vitality, Resist All, and multi-shot damage is what you're looking for. And that will be the set pieces there. So then moving on to the helmet here, we're using Pride's Fall. This is going to, your resource costs are going to be reduced by 30% if you're not taking damage for 5 seconds. Makes it really nice for keeping your discipline up and your hatred up. And the reason why this is important is because your set, your Generator's Multi-Shot Vengeance deal 350% increased damage for every point of discipline you have, right? So I have 96 discipline right now, and the higher I keep this discipline while I'm running through, the more damage I'm doing on a consistent basis, and I'm not running out of resources, right? And I'm not having to spam my preparation as much or wait for, you know, vengeance to come up as much. It's just a lot lazier. Just, you not really have to think about it too much. Every once in a while, oh, I could use some resource, I'll use my preparation. And that's how this build is designed. And like I said, guys, this build is for farming primals. This farm is primals. Essentially, when you're farming for primals, you're doing tier 70s, 80s, 90s as fast as you can in 2 minutes or less. This build, my fastest run so far, I always get 2 minutes or less in those, but my fastest run so far is 1 minute and 4 seconds, super fast. and really awesome. I'm going to be using a Hellfire Amulet here. This one's not the greatest, but you're just going to be trying to get one of the selective passives that we want for our build. But yeah, this is not too great. Then have the Nemesis Bracers here. We're looking for Fire, Dex, Vitality, and Crit Chance. On the Hellfire, I didn't go over that, but it's going to be Fire, Crit Chance, Crit Damage, Socket, and then, like I said, getting the property that you needed. And then we're also using the Convention of Elements, which is not really all that necessary to begin with because it's not as consistent when you're speed farming. When you're going through in a minute 30 seconds, you're not really worrying about, oh, my fire's up, so I can now do more damage. So you could swap this out for something else, but we'll talk about that in just a minute here. Then we have Stone of Jordan. Stone of Jordan's really great. It's giving me that fire damage, the elite damage, and also gives you max discipline in the secondary, which is really awesome and gives you a lot of damage. And you'll see some builds out there, people doing Shadow Impale, and they go really kind of more glass cannon-y, so they can, they're essentially Rift Guardian killers, right? So they'll use something like Stone of Jordan because you just get that extra damage there. And it's nice for this too. It just helps a lot with this build. It gives you that extra damage that's really consistent damage. Yeah. And then on to the offhand Deadman's Legacy. Of course, mine is not even very good, but I do have the 12 max discipline in the secondary, which is the most important factor there. Getting multi-shot, crit chance, attack speed, and high dexterity. That's what you're looking for there. And then on to the Yang's Recurve. Once again, mine is not very good, a little unlucky in that area, and I've given away to some of my viewers on my stream some better ones just because I don't really need better ones. This build is designed literally for the reason of farming for primals, and that it does quite well. So, yeah. Just trying to get a higher property there, but you got the 12 max discipline in the secondary, attack speed, and percent damage and resource obviously comes on it already. Trying to get as much damage as you can out of this. Even area damage would be okay. Maybe even cooldown would be okay. Speaking of cooldown, you're going to want to be around the 30% area, 30 to 33%. I'm a little bit on the lower end here, and it's still completely fine. So if you're around what I'm at or a little bit higher, you're going to be completely fine because you don't have to have permanent uptime on Vengeance because we don't use this for survivability, right? We use it to just give us some hatred, and we don't always need this hatred ticking, although it is nice when it's up. So it's not super important to make sure you got the cooldown going all the time. Looking at the cube here, using a Dawn, of course, to keep that Vengeance up. Cinder Coat, because we are fire, and so we have 30% reduced resource from fire here, and then we have 30% over here as well, and then also another 10% here in your cube, and then you also have your reduced resource over here. It's really, you see some gameplay on the screen and stuff. It's honestly just, you stay really high in resources very regularly, and it's great. So for the we have the Bane of the Trapped here, we have the Bane of the Powerful, and we have the Hellfire Amulet. So this build, like I said, is particularly made for doing greater rifts, for speed greater rifts, 70, 80s, 90s, stuff like that. However, if you'd like to also farm keys with this, you can, with this exact same setup, but it'd be even better if you were to remove either a Convention of Elements or your Stone of Jordan and put on an Avarice Band, and then you'd want to remove your Cinder Coat in the cube for a Gold Wrap, which is this item right here. Which so when you pick up gold, you're going to be getting some additional, you're going to be getting a bunch of armor and stuff, making you super duper tanky, so you can be super lazy while you're farming keys. I farm my keys on my Whirlwind Barb. I just enjoy it more. It's just something that, I play Demon Hunter so much. It's just something else to do. And Whirlwind's just, you hold right click and you don't even, you close your eyes essentially. Plus I have over 200% movement speed on that Whirlwind Barb. So it's just super chill and super fast. And I use it for that, and that's what I do. And that's a good way to build up some gold and stuff too, not just from doing vaults. But that's what you'd want to do. And then you'd want to swap out your Bane of the Powerful here for Boon of the Hoarder to get that additional movement speed and gold from all that. So if you did want to switch to this to use it for, say, Nephilim Rifts, you can use the exact same setup, or you can make those little altercations just to make things a little smoother. And then over here, we have the skills. So I am using Evasive Fire here, but I rarely ever have to use it. You could opt to switch this out for something like Mark for Death, which is not required at all. Smokescreen, just in case you want to jump through some grotesque explosions, or a molten explosion. You could do that, but honestly, I just keep it there just in case. You never know if you get that really crappy Greater Rift that you're just vaulting forever and you're just using all your resources up. But that like super rarely happens. So you can do whatever you want there. Multi-shot arsenal, because we are fire, using preparation and vigoration to get that increased discipline, and discipline when we need it. Vault, trail of cinders, because we are fire, so we get that reduction there. Another option you could go with, you can go with the cold variation. You could even go with tumble variation, and instead you could use like a Leoric's crown with the topaz in the helm. You could do that. That's another option. There are other options out there, just whatever you want to do, but I like this. Then the companion, using the back companion, giving you hatred regen over time, and then hatred burst every once in a while when you need it on use. You could even just switch it out for wolf. I don't even think it's super needed. And vengeance seath, giving you 10 hatred as you go there, and even in some situations you can maybe even switch to the dark card if you wanted to, if you want a little bit more damage reduction, if you're doing like 85s 90s or something, and you just want a little bit more toughness. But yeah, so then and then like I said, lastly here we have the elusive ring over here. I don't know if I said that. So then we have steady aim for some damage output. Thrill of the hunt, because what it does is slows enemies when you hit them with your multi-shot, and that activates your Bane of the Trapped, making it so that you're, from range, you want to be ranged with Zaystone of Vengeance, Bane of the Trapped, and you're doing a massive amount of damage from far away. You are kind of squishy with this, but it's built that way. You're not supposed to be super tanky. You're not supposed to be doing Greater Rift 110s with this. It's not what it's designed for. There would be different setups for that kind of stuff. This is for speed. This is for going quickly. You're going to lose a lot of speed, and you're going to lose a lot of damage if you're building in some survivability, right? You got to think about that. So, like I said, it's not for those super high Greater Rifts. I use my Impale Demon Hunter in 105s, 110s, and I do those in 3-4 minutes on my Impale Demon Hunter. This is just for speed, for keys, for farming lower Greater Rifts, to farm for primals, and get some stuff ready. So that is all of that right there. And then on the Templar here, we're going to be making sure that, I didn't have it selected. I was testing the life gain out on my other setup for my Impale. You have the hatred regen here as well. That'll help you out. And then in the Paragon, obviously getting your movement speed first, and then the rest in the dexterity. Over here, we're going to be getting, doesn't really matter too much, but I'd say get crit chance, crit damage first, then your cooldown, then attack speed, and then over here getting your resist all first, and then your life, then your armor, then your life regen, and then over here getting your resource reduction first, then area damage, then life per hit, then gold, depending on what you're doing, unless you need the gold more so. But yeah, that's pretty much what the build looks like. It's super fast, super furious, it gets the job done, and yeah, that's exactly what it is. So hope you guys found this video informative and helped you out with a build idea for you to be messing around with in D3. And I have more stuff coming your way in these upcoming videos, talking more about Demon Hunter. We have a few other builds here, like group push build, group speed build. There's my multi-fire, the one I'm using, Impale solo play. Then I have a fast Impale build, and that's just Demon Hunter. We also have some monk stuff and some barb stuff coming your way. And of course, like I said, over on my live stream. So anyways, thanks guys for watching. My name is Shinobi, and I'll see you next time.